What's up, everybody? It's been a very long time since we have ranked the maps in the Hunter Call of the Wild, so I figured it was once again time to do just that. Now, we've had a few maps come out since the last time we did this, so there's going to be some new rankings on here, and we're going to be definitely changing our opinions on some maps that may have scored higher or lower in the previous ranking video that we did. Because my opinions change constantly over time when it comes to maps in Call of the Wild, because certain maps become less and less enjoyable, others I start enjoying more, so there's likely to be a lot of different rankings than there was before. First up, we've got one of my favorite maps of all time, Layton Lake District. Now, part of it may just be the nostalgia that comes with it being one of the first maps that was in the game, but I also think that this map is very, very good for Great One grinding. It's got a lot of cool species that other maps don't have, like the black-tailed deer and the Roosevelt elk. And it's just a very enjoyable map overall. Out of the two base game maps, it is definitely my favorite. And I think for the reasons I just mentioned, this is an A-tier map in my personal opinion. I think it's a really good map. Now, Hirschfelden, I'm definitely not as big of a fan of, but it's going to likely rank higher than what I would have ranked it previously, because I have learned to enjoy and appreciate some of the aspects that Hirschfelden has. It's actually a pretty solid pheasant map. The map itself is very beautiful, and it's the only place that you can find the European bison, and the hunting for them on Hirschfelden is actually really, really fun. I had a ton of fun doing a Euro bison grind, and I've hunted them a ton since then as well. It's just a very enjoyable hunt to go on. Now, Hirschfelden as a whole is not going to be an A or S tier map for me, but it's definitely not an F tier map. I would say personally for me, I would say it's probably going to go into, let's say, the C tier, and I actually need to add another tier real quick. All right, let's continue on. So the next one on the list is Medved Taiga. Now, Medved Taiga is a map that I used to hate. I used to think that it was one of the least enjoyable, least exciting maps in the entire game. And over time, I have started to enjoy it and appreciate it a little bit more. Mainly after they did the rework to Medved Taiga, where they moved a bunch of the home ranges for the animals around. They changed some of the drink times. They added a couple of new species. Since then, it's become a pretty enjoyable map. It's a decent option for moose hunting. Musk deer are a very enjoyable hunt on that map. You've also got stuff like the lynx, which personally I like Revontuli better for the lynx, but it's one of the only maps that you can actually find them on. You've also got the gray wolves that make things quite interesting, the capercaillies if you want to go for some birds. But one of the more fun hunts that I do on Medved is for reindeer. I enjoy reindeer hunting even though they troll quite a bit. Medved overall is a very good map. It's gained a lot of popularity over the last few years because of the reasons I mentioned, and I've started to really like it. I would say it's a B tier map. It's not like my favorite, but it's also nowhere near being bad. Next up, we've got ourselves the only Africa map in Call of the Wild. Now, there have been a lot of requests for another Africa map because Virhonga was so good, but left also so much to be desired. It's a really good map, but it's lacking some of the most notable African species, like obviously elephants, leopards, zebras, cheetahs, things like that. So there's a lot of people, including myself, that want to see another iteration of Africa brought to the Hunter Call of the Wild. But as it stands, Virhonga Savannah is a very good map. It's got a lot of fun species, the lion, the Cape buffalo, the Gemsbok, the wildebeest. I could just go on and on about the species of Virhonga. It's a fantastic list. There's a lot of them that are very enjoyable and super exciting hunts. And I think because of that, Virhonga's gotta get an A tier. I wouldn't put it in S. S is going to be reserved for the best of the best maps, the ones that I love way more than anything else. But it's a solid A tier. In fact, I don't know, maybe I'll put it above Layton even. Yeah, I think I gotta put it above Layton. Yeah, we're gonna do it just like this. Now, next up is Parque Fernando. When Parque Fernando came out, this was a very popular map. It had stuff like the axis deer, it had red deer, it had water buffalo, it had the pumas. There was a lot of people that really loved this map when it first came out. But unfortunately, over time, as new maps have been added and the species from Parque Fernando got added to some of those newer maps, Parque Fernando is in a weird place where it's only got one unique species. The cinnamon teal is the only species on that map that can't be hunted anywhere else. And unfortunately for Parque Fernando, every other species, aside from the cinnamon teal, all the ones that are on other maps, they're much more fun to hunt on the other maps, in my personal opinion, whether that be just easier to find their zones, easier to find a lot of them fast, or just a better home range. Like, it's just a lot more enjoyable to hunt all those species on any of the other maps that they're available on for the most part. Now, I know a lot of people really like Parque Fernando, but for the reasons I just mentioned, and also the fact that this is quite a brushy map, and it's a very tough one to hunt drink zones, which is my preferred way of hunting. Because of that, this is my least favorite map in the entire game. I feel like since every other map that's come since then has, you know, got a lot of the same species as Parque, and they've just done it better in the newer maps, I feel like Parque Fernando has very little to offer nowadays, and it's probably the only map that I would rank as an F tier. Now, this could change. If they add a couple of unique species to Parque Fernando, I could definitely see it bumping up to like a D or a C tier, but for now, Parque Fernando is an F tier for me. But I do think that they've got room to improve. This map is based on a game ranch, so there is the possibility of adding some like very unique species if they wanted to go that route. Next up is Yukon Valley, and Yukon Valley is regarded by a lot of players as a top 3 map. Now, Yukon is an incredibly gorgeous map. It's super beautiful, and up until recently, it was probably the most amazing snow hunting experience you could get, with the dynamic snow, where sometimes it would have no snow and then it would slowly accumulate on the ground. It was a very cool thing for the time. There's a lot of decent species on Yukon as well. It was the first time we ever saw the gray wolf. We've also got stuff like the plains bison. We've got moose. We've got the Canadian geese. We've got caribou and a few other species. My favorite part about Yukon is the look of the map. It's a very beautiful map, but I think that with the release of a ski ridge, it's no longer the best looking snow map. So it's not going to get as high of a ranking as it usually would have, because I don't think the species list backs up giving it like a high rating. Now, it's got a lot of beauty to the map, but I do feel like the species list lacks a little bit. It's got some good species, but I think they definitely could have done more with it. And over time, it's just kind of lost a little bit of its luster, and for that reason, I'm going to rank it as probably high B tier. It's definitely not going to be lower than that, because I do think it's better than Medved, but it's nowhere near being as enjoyable of a map for me as Leighton Lakes or Virhonga. Next up is Cuatro Colinas. This map right here is another one that has lost a lot of its luster over time. The Ibex are probably the biggest draw to this map, and that's mainly just because you can't get them anywhere else. But unfortunately, every single one of them uses the same model, but just different horns, so even though there's 4 species of Ibex, they do tend to get kind of repetitive from one Ibex species to the next. With Cuatro Colinas, one of the biggest draws to it back in the early days of its release, like the first year or 2 after it was released, this map was renowned for its red deer hunting. But then Tiabaroa got released, and it was just a much better red deer hunting map. And so because of that, this map has dropped down quite a bit for me. Now, they did add the pheasants to the map, which is a nice little addition to it. But overall, I don't really have too many reasons that I ever go to Cuatro. I think roe deer is probably the only reason, aside from Ibex, that I actually go to Cuatro Colinas to hunt. So I would personally say that it's going to be C tier. It's going to be a high C tier right above Hirschfelden. It's not as good as Medved in my opinion, but better than Hirschfelden, so high C tier seems fitting for it. Next up, we have Silver Ridge Peaks. This is a fan favorite right here that so many of you absolutely love, including myself. For the longest time, this was my favorite map in the entire game. Then they decided to change the home ranges of a lot of animals, change the drink times of some of them, and I just feel like it hasn't been quite as good since. For example, the pronghorn used to be an incredibly awesome hunt, and then they lowered them to class 3 instead of class 4, and they also made them drink right at the edge of nighttime, right before it gets super dark. So they were just never as fun after that. They moved a lot of species around on that map. The mountain goats lost their drink zones, so they no longer drink. They're only in feeding and resting zones, and they moved them to a part of the map that doesn't even make sense for what they are. The mountain goats should be up in the high mountains, but instead the majority of them are literally down in the valleys by the lakes. Now, there is some in the mountains, but it's just really weird that half of the home range for them is not even in the mountains. So I think between the pronghorn and the mountain ghost, those were the two primary things that I think did hurt this map. Now, recently, I think it was like maybe a year and a half ago, they did give the black bears a daytime drink zone again. And this is one of the greatest maps to hunt black bear. If you're going for a black bear great one, this is going to be by far the best map you could possibly go on. With all that being said, this map has so many amazing species, one of the greatest species lists in all of Call of the Wild. It's a beautiful map. It has like my favorite styles of hunting in a lot of areas. It's super wide open. There's constant action. I think it's the first S tier of the day. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. There's definitely some of you that won't, and that's fine. Next up, we have something that will be a little bit controversial. Tiabaroa has been one of the, what's the word? Most polarizing maps? I guess that's the best way to put it. Where this is a map that you either hate or love. Half the people in the community think that it is the most mediocre map ever, while the other half think it's the greatest map ever made. I love this map so much. And I think that if you are a great one grinder, if you love grinding for great ones, Tiabaroa is going to rank very high for you. Between the tar and the red deer and the fallow deer, there's so much to go for great one wise. And in all three of those species, it is by far the best map to grind for, or to grind for those species on. And I think there's also a lot of cool species. We've got the Sika deer. This was also the first map with the feral pigs. There's a lot of cool hunting to have on Tiabaroa. And it is like one of the most deer-focused maps in the game. There's a lot of animals with antlers. There's a lot of horned animals as well. The feral goats are on here too. I almost forgot about those. And ever since they added tar, I would say that it probably has bumped it up a little bit more because tar were recently added to Tiabaroa. This map for me is one of the greatest maps ever, and I personally would rank it above Silver Ridge Peaks in S tier. I think it is a top tier map. And you know what? Some of you will not like what I'm about to do, but I just got to thinking about some of the other maps that are still to be ranked, and I think I'm going to drop Silver Ridge to a high A tier. I think it's going to be a high A tier because there's a couple maps coming up that I would definitely rank higher than Silver Ridge. Next up, we've got Rancho del Arroyo. This map started off very strong when it was first released because it was by far the best whitetail map. This is where I got my first couple great one whitetail. Got a lot of memories with Rancho del Arroyo. But sometime down the road, they changed the home ranges of a lot of species. And it ruined a lot of really good hotspots. It also made the whitetail way less insane, along with a lot of other species. There was a lot of species that were so good on Rancho, and then after the changes, it just wasn't as fun to hunt them because they moved a lot of animals to the really brushy lakes that are just not very fun to hunt. So Rancho took quite a dip. Now it still is a very fun map to hunt mule deer on. It's also very fun to hunt bighorn sheep on. It's a decent coyote map, but it's nowhere near its former glory. Back in the day where it was released, I probably would have gave this like an A, maybe a B. But nowadays, it's a C. I think it's better than Quattro, but it's not as good as Medved or Yukon. Now we've got Mississippi Acres, and oh my gosh, this map has had an interesting history in Call of the Wild. When this map released, it released at the same time that they did a free week on Epic Games, where you could get the game completely free of charge and keep it forever. And so because of that, there was a huge influx of new players, which in turn made it so it was one of the most insane times for content creators, and it really kind of gave a false idea that this was like the most popular map ever, when in reality it turned out to not be nearly as popular as we originally thought it would be. This map was so fun in the first month, but it got old very quickly. The alligators are really the only reason I ever go back to Mississippi Acres now, because the gator hunting is quite fun, but pretty much every other species there, I almost never go for. Like, you'll never catch me hunting whitetail on Mississippi. You'll never catch me hunting, like, gray fox on Mississippi, because there's just better maps to hunt those species on, and same goes for pretty much everything there, aside from maybe black bear. I think it's the second best black bear map. Maybe third best now that a ski ridge is a thing, but it's not terrible for bears. It's an awesome gator map, but it just didn't deliver what people originally thought it would. And I think because of that, this is going to rank like very low C tier. I don't think it's as good as Quattro. but I do think it's better than Hirschfelden, and it's definitely better than Parque Fernando. Next, we've got the beginning of the absolute bangers. Revontuli Coast, one of the greatest maps ever added to Call of the Wild. It was the first, like, bird-focused map. It brought so many new waterfowl and upland birds into the game, as well as giving us a new place to hunt whitetail, moose, brown bear, etc. Really awesome map. It's got a very nice mix between a super forested area and then the higher up mountainous areas that have barely any trees. It's got a really cool dynamic when you go from the low areas of the map to the high areas. One of the best whitetail maps there is. It is by far one of the best waterfowl and upland bird maps too, and it's so much fun. I never have a bad time on Revontuli, and I think that is going to be why this is going to be another high A tier. Right above Silver Ridge, I would say. It's almost S tier, and a couple years ago, I probably would have ranked it as S tier. But not anymore. I don't want to add too many S tier maps. I don't want to have like 5 S tiers. So it's no longer an S tier for me. In my eyes, S tier is reserved for the best of the best. And although I really love Revontuli, I wouldn't class it as S tier anymore. Next up, New England. I don't even really need to say much about New England, let's be honest. It's a gorgeous map. It's absolutely beautiful. It was unfortunately marketed as a grinding map and then turned out to be terrible if you're a grinder. It has one of the worst grinds for whitetail deer, black bear, moose, etc. It has some of the highest count of zones for those species of any map in the game. There's like 200 plus drink zones for moose. So for my personal playstyle, the way I enjoy playing the game, New England does not appeal to me in the slightest. Like I said, it's a very, very beautiful map, and it actually is great for gray fox and raccoon. I love hunting gray fox and raccoon on this map. But aside from that, there's not many things I would go to New England for, and because of that, it's our first D tier of the day. It's not F tier, but it's certainly not C or higher. And I think you guys are probably noticing a trend so far. A lot of these maps in Call of the Wild are really solid. Like C to A tier, all these maps are very decent maps. They're between decent to really good. And then there's some maps that go even further, like Tiabaroa. There's very rarely a map that I consider bad. New England and Fernando are really the only maps that I would consider to be like not very great. The rest of them are at least decent, which is a good thing. It's nice to have a lot of awesome places to go hunting. Speaking of awesome places to go hunting, Emerald Coast. Oh my gosh, when this map first released, this was one of the most amazing maps ever added to the game, and it still is. I still love this map so freaking much. Emerald Coast is awesome. It is one of the best maps ever added to Call of the Wild. It's got so many deer species. It's got the banteng. It's got the crocodiles. It's got kangaroos. It's just a really cool map. The Rusa deer and the sandbar deer are a couple of my favorite deer in the game. It's also got stuff like the hog deer. It's a really good map for foxes. It's just an overall amazing map. I've actually done a Great One Red Deer grind on Emerald Coast as well and had some decent luck. Got one Great One Red Deer off of it and a super rare albino diamond. So I do really like Emerald Coast. And I would say that for me, this is going to be another S tier. In fact, I would put this as my new favorite on the list currently. It's above Tiawaroa. It's above Revontuli and Silver Ridge. But is it going to be my top ranked one? Well, let's find out. Sunderpatten. This map right here was probably one of the most hyped up maps ever added to Call of the Wild. Because of the tigers and the snow leopards, there's still a couple of the coolest species in the entire game. On top of that, this was the first time they ever branched out and added a great one that wasn't on a base game map. This map had a lot of stuff going for it, and it still does. I really love this map. It's the best water buffalo map. It's a very good black buck map. It's a fun map to go for like the tigers and the snow leopards. You've also got the Barasinga, which is a super cool deer species. And many more different things as well, like the Tar Great One grind and stuff like that I mentioned. This map is incredible. It's also S tier. Like, this goes right on the top It is a really good map. Now, next up, we have Salzwiesen Park. This map was very unique because it was, I think, like a third or a quarter of the size of a normal Call of the Wild map, and it was heavily focused on small game. It's by far the best map to go hunting for pheasant great ones or fox great ones. It's so good. It is a very, very good map if you want to go for those two great ones, or if you love small game and bird hunting. But I do believe that because it's such a limited map in terms of what you can really go for, it's not going to get S tier and it's not going to get A tier. I would probably rank it like right here. It's a very good map, but I don't think it's necessarily better than the maps that are above it. But don't get me wrong, I still love Salzwiesen Park. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I'm ranking it this low, because for the longest time I considered it top 5, but after I'm looking at everything on here, I don't know if it's top 5. It's a great map. Awesome if you're going for the pheasant great one, but I don't think it's top 5. Which brings us to a ski ridge. You guys already know I've been saying it for the last like month and a half, and I still stand by it. Obviously, whenever a new map comes out, you tend to really enjoy it. But even after over a month and a half, this is still my favorite map in the game. I feel like not only is the species list incredible, but the design of the map is so good. They've set it up to where even if you're hunting for drink zones, you're still going to see a bunch of animals feeding very close by that are different species. So even if you're going for one animal, you're going to be seeing a bunch of other animals too. It's constant action. It's the best mule deer grinding map there is. It's a solid whitetail grinding map, a decent moose grinding map. And from what my brother's been testing out, it seems like it might be a solid bear grinding map too. On top of that, it had the new snow effects where you would actually like make snow trails and your feet would actually crush down the snow. The snow would like accumulate and get deeper as more snow came down. Some really cool stuff was added with this map. Now, this obviously isn't part of the map, what I'm about to mention, but it was in the same update where they gave a bunch of animals new animations to look more realistic and behave more realistically when they get shot and stuff like that. This is a really good map, and it is my favorite. It's the last S tier of the day. And that right there is my ranking. Now, let's do a quick little skim through. Let's see if there's anything that I want to change here. Is there anything that I would change? You know what? I think we're going to move Hirschfelden down. Because when I put Hirsch in C, there wasn't a D tier. I had to add that D tier after the fact. So I am going to move Hirschfelden down. Let's see. Is there any other last second changes I would make? I would maybe... I'm just trying to look at these on like levels of enjoyment for me. I almost feel like I would rather hunt Mississippi than Quattro. Because like I said, the gator hunting is so fun, and I do like the gator hunting more than I like roe deer or ibex on Quattro, so Mississippi's going to go up one notch there. It's still C tier, but a little bit higher C tier. Other than that, I don't know if I'd change anything else. You know what? This is going to go against pretty much everything I said about Virhonga and Layton, but I have done so many hunts on Layton. I've killed 40 or so great one whitetail on Layton Lakes and killed close to 50,000 whitetail deer on this map, and I still enjoy hunting there. So I feel like it's got to go above Virhonga. And I think that's going to be my final ranking. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with my ranking here. Some of you may agree. Let me know why I'm wrong, why I'm right in the comments down below. But remember, keep it civil. Don't get too mad. It's just my personal opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Leave a comment down below, as well as hitting that like button. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.